Big wood on the lathe today. Definitely stay tuned. Shrapnel. A little bit more to go to get it rounded up. And then we'll do something with this corner. I don't want to go too far because I don't want to get rid of all this bark right here. So we're about even with it now. I might just taper it up just a little bit. And then I got some work to do on the bottom. I got my mortise cut in there. It's not real deep yet, and I got some chips here, so I'm going to have to redo it a little bit. I come back and tried to touch it up and screwed it up. So I'll go a little deeper. And keep poking away at it. This was a slow but sure one. It's huge. Huge, I tell you. Works for me. One more little ridge right here. I'll take care of that. And I'll straighten up my mortise with the chips on it. And we'll go from there. Well, I got my chuck on there and it's very secure, we hope. Well, that apparently was tight. Let me grab a pipe wrench. Well, I found a pipe wrench. I hope it's big enough. When you unscrew your stuff and you got your pin locked, don't try to just put pressure on it. You got to shock it so it don't break your pin like that. Because if you just put weight on it, you're going to end up snapping your indexing pin or lockout pin, whatever they call it. Now see if we can do this without dropping it on my toe. This monster is heavy. You got to take the weight off it or you end up messing up your threads. Or keep the weight off. Don't forget your little set screw. Now we can start getting some weight off this thing. How it's going to turn out, I don't know. Big screws. Not fat, but long. And always pump them out like that so they don't overheat and break. These are cabinet hanging screws. And it does make a difference. These are made to take shear. They have a lot of shear strength. Whereas if you use a drywall screw, they have tensile strength this way. They will snap in a heartbeat. Alright. Got it ready to go. I'm going to take a little rest break because I'm pooped. Okay, believe it or not, I come up with a plan on this monster. I got a nice wing here, and I'm going to come around here right about where this cut is and take more weight off of this end because this sticks out further than this. That will help balance the piece. And then I'm going to cut in here and make a wing and go as deep as I can go on the outside of the bowl and make a nice rim, and then hollow out the center. So it will look like a bowl kind of sitting on a tray, or in a tray, or whatever. Otherwise this piece is going to be way too heavy. So I'm going to keep bringing this in right here as far as I can. And I have to come back around the end and trim the outside off and put whatever shape on it I come up with. This is pretty easy cutting here. This little spot right here is hard as a rock, and in here is hard as a rock. It's a good thing I cut this thing as green as it was. I think this was from the tree that got put in my yard for firewood. So it's a few months, sitting there a few months. A little bit of punky, but it's still solid and it cuts good. So I'm going to keep digging in here as far as I dare, and then we'll go from there. Stay tuned. Alright, it is the next day. This has got to be one of the hardest pieces of wood I've ever turned on my lathe. We have some bark repair I had to do there because it come flying off. This cut here I'm going to continue all the way around the bottom. We have a nice taper in here, and I'm going to try to come up from the bottom some more and lighten this up. And the internal is so fibrous and the speed is so slow, it's killing me, bro. Have to take a lot of breaks. I got a fault there. You can see a chunk chipped out. I'm going to have to cut that back. What a pain in the butt. But if you can see my concept, it should be about where my thumb is at, up from the bottom. What I'm trying not to do is lose this big old knuckle here. So I have it started in about there, that line. So all this meat needs to come off, and man, is it slow going. Time to resharpen. I'm going to take a little break. I'm holding on to my gouges so tight it's giving me a headache. But I'll keep poking away at it. Lots of breaks. And we'll see y'all in a little bit. Just trying to shave some of the bulk down. It's too bulky. I'm going to have to put a taper on the bottom just to get some of this mass off. I'm just about where I need to be here though, because I'm trying not to hit the bark on this side. Right here I just touched it. So I'm going to go from here and taper it in towards the middle. Slow going. I got to move my gouge really slow because of all the air I'm trying to cut. And we're just starting to touch the bark here. So about another ½ inch and then I'll smooth out the bottom. Have you ever tried to pound a nail through a white oak knot? This whole center of this thing is nothing but a big oak knot. So at the low speed and the slow pace, this is going to take forever. We'll keep chiseling away at it. We'll turn you back on when we get a little something hollowed out. Woo! Tell me that's not hard. I'm going to go inside and get some dynamite to blow that out. Believe it or not, that chisel, or that gouge, is razor sharp right now. And there's a big old knot right there. Every time that comes around, you can hear it whop, 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 whop. So I'm just going to keep poking away at it, take lots of breaks, and we'll see what we end up with. Yikes. This is some slow going, but I'm getting it. I'm actually putting the bevel against the outside of the bowl and actually pulling back and then slowly turning it until I start a cut. That way with this hard wood and that knot jumping around, there's that knot right there, and dead weird rotten stuff around it. But pushing that bevel against the back of the bowl gives me control so I can get in to make my cut. The only downside is I end up with like rubbed marks on the inside here, and that may make sanding a little difficult, but I'll come back in there with my negative rake scraper. Actually, it feels pretty good. Sometimes you can't see them. Sometimes you can't feel them, but when you put a finish on, they show up because you're actually compressing the wood with the back of your bevel. So I have to be careful of that, but to keep control of the gouge, that's basically what I have to do. We're just about there, and we'll just keep stroking away at it. Okay, this is what we're going to do. I got this inside pretty nice, pretty smooth. I have not sanded it. What I'm going to do is give this a liberal coat of shellac, and I'll tell you the reason why in a minute. I'm going to give this a liberal coat of shellac, and I'm going to come back and take it off the lathe and CA glue all the bark. And then I'm going to throw it in a sawdust pile and let it dry out for however long it takes. The shellac will slow down the drying process, which will help it not to warp as bad, and that are my hopes, or that is my hope. It has the potential to be a pretty nice piece, but it is very heavy and thick, and we'll have to see what happens when it dries. So I'm liberally coating the outside wood. I'll also do the bottom, And then we're just going to let it sit around. I don't know, might be a couple weeks, might be a couple months, and see how it turns out. I may have to put it back on the lathe, dress some issues up. So I have a mortise in this piece, so I don't have to worry about a tenon. The mortise may warp, I don't know. It's a crapshoot kind of. But this could be a really nice piece. It's big and bulky. It'd look good in the center of a table full of napkins or marshmallows or cookies or whatever you want to put in it. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and coat the bark too. And then I'll CA glue around the edges. So for now, I'm going to call this piece done, and I'll get you some pictures. And hopefully it will maintain most of its shape without warping and cracking. It's very wet. I didn't think it was that wet, but as I got into it, it just, you know, it is what it is. It was stored outside and just got kind of, never had a chance to really dry out. It's only been sitting out there since summertime, I believe, is when the tree was cut down. Early spring, I think. So we'll see how it turns out. I think it'll be okay. I'm gonna fill it with the shavings. I may even do the thing where they after your piece is cut, you throw it in a brown paper bag and fill it with the shavings and put shavings underneath it so it slows down the drying process, but it also helps wick the moisture out as long as it doesn't get mildewy. And supposedly your piece is not supposed to warp as bad. We'll see. It's a chance you take when you're turning green wood, you know. I knew it going in, but this is a very difficult piece to cut. And what it was, basically a dead branch on an oak tree, and then the tree grew around it. So I had that old dead branch of oak, solid white oak. That was the hardest part of it. And I bet you I sharpened my chisels probably 4 or 5 times. And if I went too aggressive where that branch was, it just took the edge right off. And so it is what it is. So I'm going to take this off the lathe so I can CA glue the edge of the bark where it meets the sapwood. That helps to stop it from separating. And I'll get you some up close, down deep pictures and then finish up this video for now. I will do an update when I do the final on this. And we'll see if it's a yay or a big nay. I hope it's a yay. It's weird, there's a little white spot right there. Very light spot in the wood. Turn this on for a second. Let the spray fly. Nice vibration. Check out my lathe. It sounds like they're shutting loose. Alright, let me get you a couple pictures.